I woke up next to an alien nurse. She blushed, chuckled, and said, "You never let go of my hand." Elias did not wake all at once. His thoughts came back slowly, like light passing through fog. At first there was only warmth. Not heat, not cold, just a steady comfort that made his body feel safe. Then came sound, a soft humming that rose and fell like distant waves. It was not a sound he knew, but it did not frighten him. When his eyes finally opened, the light above him was pale and smooth without edges. It did not hurt his vision. He blinked once, then again, and the world began to shape itself. A ceiling curved gently overhead, glowing with faint colors that shifted like morning sky. The air smelled clean, but not sharp like Earth hospitals. It carried a calm scent, almost like rain on metal. Elias tried to move and felt a strange heaviness, as if his body was resting deeper than it should. Then he noticed his hand. His right hand was not free. It was holding another. The hand was slimmer than his, with long fingers and skin the color of soft blue stone. It was warm, very warm. The grip was gentle, not tight, but firm enough to say it had been there for a long time. Elias froze, his mind racing, heart suddenly loud in his chest. He turned his head slowly. Beside him sat an alien. She was seated on a low chair close to his bed, leaning forward slightly, her posture careful, like someone trying not to disturb a sleeping child. Her uniform was smooth and silver-white, without seams Elias could see. Her face was not human, but it was close enough that his mind could understand it. Large eyes, dark and reflective. A small mouth. No hair, but fine ridges along her scalp that caught the light. She was looking at him. Their eyes met. For a second, neither of them moved. Then the alien nurse blinked, straightened quickly, and made a small sound that might have been a laugh or maybe surprise. A faint color spread across her cheeks, deepening from blue to something warmer, almost violet. "You are awake," she said. Her voice was soft and musical but clear. The words were English, not perfect, but careful and kind. Elias swallowed. His throat was dry, but his voice came out anyway. "Where am I?" The alien nurse glanced down at their joined hands, then back up at his face. Her cheek color deepened further. "You are aboard the medical vessel Kithra," she said. "You were injured during orbital transit near the border of our space." She paused, then added gently, "You never let go of my hand." Elias looked down. His fingers were still wrapped around hers. "Oh," he said, feeling his face heat. He tried to pull back, but his muscles were weak, slow to listen. His grip loosened slightly, uncertain. Sorry, I didn't mean to." "It is acceptable," she said quickly, too quickly. "There is no offense." She did not pull her hand away. Elias let his hand rest again, unsure what else to do. His thoughts felt soft, like they had been washed and folded and put back in the wrong order. "My name is Elias," he said after a moment. It felt important to say it, to anchor himself. She inclined her head. "I am Scifi. I am a registered medical caretaker." A nurse, then. The word felt right. "How long?" Elias asked. "How long was I out?" Scifi's eyes flicked to a display hovering near the bed. Symbols moved across it in smooth lines. "6 of your Earth days," she said. "You experienced neural shock and cellular strain. Your species' nervous system reacted strongly." Elias gave a weak smile. "Yeah, we do that." Scifi's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. "Yes," she said, "you do." She hesitated, then spoke again. "During your unconscious state, you exhibited continuous muscle response, specifically your hand." She gently lifted their joined hands a little, as if showing him proof. "You reached out," she said. "You grasped my hand. When I attempted to disengage for medical procedures, your heart rate increased." Elias frowned faintly. "So you stayed?" "Yes," Scifi said. The room felt very quiet. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, letting the information settle. Alien ship, alien nurse. First contact had been tense, carefully planned, full of rules and distance. This was not how it was supposed to happen. "I'm guessing," he said slowly. "This isn't standard procedure." Scifi let out a small breath. "No," she admitted, "it is not." She shifted in her chair, her posture still professional, but something uncertain moved beneath it. "My people value composure. Physical contact is rare. Prolonged contact is unusual." Elias opened his eyes again and met her gaze. "Then why did you stay?" Scifi was quiet for a long moment. The soft lights above them dimmed slightly, as if responding to the silence. "Because," she said at last, "your species reacts to comfort in ways we do not fully understand. Your neural patterns stabilized when contact was maintained." She paused, and because it felt wrong to let go. Elias did not know what to say to that. He shifted slightly, testing his body. There was soreness, but no sharp pain. Whoever these aliens were, they knew their medicine. "Thank you," he said simply. Sally's cheek color warmed again. "You are welcome." A soft chime sounded in the room. Another alien entered, taller, with sharper features and darker skin. Their presence felt formal. Their eyes flicked immediately to Elias and then to the joined hands. Sally noticed. She straightened and gently withdrew her hand at last. Elias felt the loss of warmth immediately, like stepping away from a fire. "The human is awake," Sally said, her voice returning to calm precision. "Yes," the newcomer said. Their English was more clipped. "I see." They stepped closer to the bed. "I am Overseer Talron. You are within Allied jurisdiction. Your survival has already been reported to your people." Elias nodded. "Good to know." Talron studied him for a moment. "Your species is resilient." Elias gave a tired smile. "We're stubborn." Talron made a sound that might have been agreement. "Rest is advised. Formal contact will occur later." They turned to leave, then paused. Their gaze returned briefly to Sally. "Excellent care," Talron said. Sally inclined her head. "It was my duty." When Talron left, the room felt warmer again, quieter. Sally moved to adjust the display near Elias' bed, her movements smooth but slightly quicker than before. "You should rest," she said. "Your body is still repairing itself." Elias nodded. "Yeah. I think I could sleep for another week." As his eyes began to close, he felt something unexpected. Sally's hand brushed lightly against his just for a second as she adjusted a sensor. The touch was brief, professional, but Elias' fingers twitched, almost reaching again. Sally noticed. She did not pull away immediately this time. "You may recover faster than anticipated," she said softly. Elias smiled, already half asleep. "Told you," he murmured. "We're stubborn." Sally watched him as his breathing evened out, his grip finally relaxed, his face peaceful. For the first time in her long medical career, she remained seated long after her duty required it, not because of protocol, but because something about this human made the silence feel less empty. When Elias woke again, the light felt softer than before. It was not brighter or dimmer, just calmer, as if the room had learned how much light a human needed. His breathing was steady, his thoughts clearer. He could feel his body now, not as a distant weight, but as something fully his again. He noticed first that his hand was empty. For a moment, he felt an unexpected sense of loss. It surprised him. He had known Sally for less than a day, and yet the absence of her warmth felt larger than it should have. He turned his head slowly and saw her standing near a medical console, her back partially turned. She was reviewing floating symbols that shifted and changed color as she moved her fingers through them. Her posture was calm, but Elias noticed how often her eyes flicked toward him. "You are awake again," she said without turning fully around. "Yeah," Elias replied. "Guess I'm improving." She faced him now, and the faint violet color touched her cheeks once more. "Your recovery rate is above projected expectations," she said. "Your neural responses have stabilized at a pace uncommon for your species." Elias smiled. "We adapt fast." "Sometimes faster than we should." Sally considered this. "Adaptation is usually associated with physical change," she said. "Your kind adapts emotionally as well." She stepped closer to the bed, holding a small device shaped like a thin ring. She slid it gently over his wrist. It hummed softly, then went still. "This will monitor your stress and rest cycles," she explained. "If you experience discomfort, notify me." "Got it," Elias said. He paused, then added, "So what happens now?" Sally hesitated just a little. "Now others will observe." As if summoned by her words, the door opened quietly. Two more aliens entered, both wearing symbols that marked them as medical specialists. They did not approach Elias right away. Instead, they stood back, watching him with focused interest. "He appears stable," one of them said. "More than stable," the other replied. "His emotional centers are unusually active." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You guys talk about people like software?" Sally glanced at the others. "Human Elias is conscious," she said. "You may address him directly." The specialists shifted, clearly unused to this. One stepped forward. "Your unconscious behavior has drawn attention," they said. "Let me guess," Elias replied. "The hand thing." "Yes," the alien confirmed. "Your continuous physical contact with medical caretaker Sally contradicts our models." Elias glanced at Sally, then back. "I didn't do it on purpose." "We know," the alien said. "That is what concerns us." Sally stiffened slightly. "It should not be a concern," she said. The contact aided his recovery. The specialists exchanged looks. That is the anomaly, one said. Emotional interaction should not influence biological repair to that degree. Elias shifted in bed, feeling suddenly like a strange experiment. Where I come from, he said carefully, comfort matters. It's not a theory, it's just human. The room was quiet again. After several more scans and quiet discussion, the specialists left, leaving Sally and Elias alone once more. The silence between them felt different now. Not awkward, aware. They will continue to observe you, Sally said. Not as a threat, as a question. Elias nodded slowly. Figures. Hours passed. Elias slept, woke, ate carefully prepared meals that somehow tasted familiar despite being alien. Each time he woke, Sally was there. Sometimes she spoke. Sometimes she simply monitored the displays, but she stayed close. On the third day, Elias noticed something change. Sally sat closer than before, not close enough to touch, but closer than necessary. You don't have to stay, Elias said gently. I know you've got other patients. Sally looked at him, her eyes reflecting the soft room light. I have been reassigned, she said. You are now my primary responsibility. Elias studied her face. Is that official or personal? She paused. Both. That night Elias had a dream. He dreamed of falling through space, stars stretching like lines around him. The cold should have been unbearable, but it was. There was warmth, a hand in his. When he woke suddenly, his heart was racing, breath uneven. Sally was at his side instantly. You experienced distress, she said, placing a calming sensor against his chest. Elias' hand moved on instinct. He reached for hers. This time he was awake when he did it. Sally froze. Her eyes widened slightly as his fingers wrapped around hers again. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. I'm sorry, Elias said quietly. I didn't even think. You are not unconscious, she replied. No, he agreed. I know. She could have pulled away. She didn't. Instead, she sat down slowly, allowing the contact. Elias felt his breathing ease almost immediately, as if his body recognized safety before his mind did. Sally watched the readings on the display shift into stable patterns. It is happening again, she said softly. What? Elias asked. Your stress markers are lowering, she said, simply from contact. Elias let out a small breath. Guess my body likes company. Sally's fingers adjusted slightly in his grasp, tentative but not resisting. So does mine, she admitted almost too quietly to hear. The days that followed changed the station in small ways. Other caretakers watched more closely. Some tried gentle conversation with Elias. Some offered brief touches during examinations. They recorded the results carefully. The effects were undeniable. Patients near Elias showed calmer responses. Tension in shared spaces lowered. Even the station's artificial lighting shifted to warmer tones, adjusted by systems responding to emotional data. Sally noticed it first. The environment is adapting, she said one evening. Like us, Elias replied. She nodded slowly. One day, Sally brought a tablet and set it near Elias' bed. On it were records, medical logs, observations. Your presence is causing systemic change, she said. Some consider it dangerous. Elias frowned. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I know, she said. That is why others are unsure how to respond. She looked at him, her gaze steady. My people believed emotional distance was strength. You challenge that belief without effort. Elias squeezed her hand gently. Maybe strength isn't distance, maybe it's connection. Sally felt something shift inside her at those words. Not fear, not confusion, recognition. That night when Elias finally fell asleep, Sally did not withdraw her hand. And for the first time, she did not record the reason as medical necessity. She simply stayed. Because somewhere between data and silence, between warmth and shared breath, the galaxy was beginning to learn something new about humans. The station did not change all at once. It changed the way quiet places do, slowly, in small moments that were easy to miss if no one was paying attention. Elias noticed it first in the way people walked past his room. At the beginning, aliens would pause at the doorway, observe him silently, and move on. Now they stopped longer. Some nodded. Some watched him with curiosity that no longer felt cold. A few even smiled, though their smiles were careful and unsure, like a skill being learned for the first time. Sally noticed it too. She saw it in the medical ward schedules. Other caretakers were requesting reassignment closer to Elias' room. Not officially, not in written form, but through subtle preference flags. They said things like environmental stability and positive patient response. but Sally understood the truth beneath the words. They felt better near him. Elias sat upright now, no longer confined to the bed. He wore simple station clothing, soft and light, designed to fit many species. He spent hours seated near the wide viewing window, watching stars drift slowly past. Sally often stood beside him, holding a data pad, though she checked it less and less. "You are thinking again," she said one day. Elias smiled faintly. "Hard not to with all this." He gestured toward the stars. "Back home, space always felt distant. Something you looked at, not lived in." "And now?" Sally asked. "Now it feels crowded," he said. "In a good way." Sally considered that. "Your people find comfort in presence," she said, "even when surrounded by the unknown." "Especially then," Elias replied. Their hands rested close together on the ledge, not touching, but close enough that the space between them felt intentional. That afternoon, Overseer Talrin arrived again, accompanied by 2 representatives from the Cultural Council. They carried no instruments, only small recording crystals that floated beside them. "Human Elias," Talrin said, "your recovery is officially complete." Elias looked at Sally. She inclined her head slightly, confirming it. "That's good news," Elias said. "I was starting to feel like a permanent guest." Talrin's eyes flicked briefly to Sally, then back. "You are more than a guest," they said. "You are now a variable." Elias laughed softly. "I've been called worse." The council members shifted, uncertain how to react to humor. "Your presence has produced unexpected results," Talrin continued. "Emotional responses across multiple species have increased, cooperative efficiency has risen, stress indicators have declined." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You're saying morale improved because I exist?" "In simplified terms," Talrin replied, "yes." Sally watched Elias closely. "They are concerned," she added. "Change is unsettling." Elias nodded. "Change usually is." Talrin studied him for a long moment. "We request your participation in a broader observation cycle," they said. "You will interact with others beyond medical staff, public areas, shared environments." Elias glanced at Sally again. "Is that safe?" Talrin answered honestly. "There is no indication of harm." Sally stepped forward. "I will accompany him." This time, Talrin did not object. The first walk through the station was quiet. Elias moved slowly, adjusting to artificial gravity that felt slightly different from Earth's. Sally walked beside him, matching his pace. Aliens of many forms watched them pass. Some stepped aside respectfully. Others paused their conversations, drawn by something they did not fully understand. A small group gathered near a communal rest space where soft light and low sound created a peaceful atmosphere. Elias sat down on one of the wide benches. Sally stood nearby. A young alien, shorter than most, approached hesitantly. "You are the human," they said. "I am," Elias replied warmly. The alien tilted their head. "May I sit?" "Of course," Elias said, moving slightly to make space. The alien sat. They did not speak for a while. Neither did Elias. They simply shared the silence. Sally watched the sensors hidden in the walls react. Heart rates lowered, stress patterns smoothed. It was happening again. More aliens approached. Some sat. Some stood nearby. No one spoke loudly. No one felt the need to. Later, Sally said quietly, "You did nothing." Elias smiled. "Sometimes that's enough." Word spread quickly. The station council requested a formal gathering, not a negotiation, not a briefing, a conversation. Elias stood in the central chamber days later, surrounded by representatives of many worlds. He felt small but not afraid. Sally stood just behind him, close enough that he could feel her presence. "You wish to understand humans," Elias said to the room. "That's fair. We're still trying to understand ourselves." A soft ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. "We're not the strongest species," Elias continued. "We're not the oldest, we're not the smartest in every way, but we care, sometimes too much. We reach out even when we don't know what's on the other side." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "We don't survive alone, we never have, so we connect, even when it hurts, even when it's awkward." He glanced back at Sally for a brief moment, then forward again. "That's not weakness, that's how we made it this far." The chamber was silent for a long time, then one representative spoke. "Your presence has disrupted our expectations." Elias nodded. "Good, expectations can get in the way." The meeting ended without a formal decision. None was needed. The change was already underway. In the days that followed, station life felt different. Caretakers spoke more. Researchers paused to listen. Touch, once rare, became cautious but accepted. A hand on an arm, a shared seat. small gestures but meaningful. Sally felt it most deeply within herself. She found her thoughts drifting when Elias was not nearby. She noticed emotions more clearly now, not as data points, but as experiences. Curiosity, warmth, something close to joy. One evening she stood with Elias at the viewing window again. "You will leave soon," she said. Elias nodded. "Yeah, Earth's been waiting." She looked down at her hands. "Your departure will be felt." He turned to face her. "Change doesn't disappear when one person leaves," he said. "It keeps going." Sally met his gaze. "You are certain," he smiled. "I've seen it." She hesitated, then did something new. She reached for his hand. Elias did not move at first. Then his fingers closed gently around hers. The station lights shifted warmer once more. Neither of them spoke. They didn't need to, because somewhere in the quiet heart of a space station far from Earth, humanity was no longer just visiting the stars. It was leaving something behind. The announcement came during the station's quiet cycle, when most lights were dim and movement slowed. Elias was seated near the viewing window again, watching a distant nebula slowly turn like a painted cloud. Sally stood beside him, reviewing schedules that no longer felt strict or heavy. "Elias," she said softly, "the council has issued a request." He looked up. "That sounds serious." "It is important," she replied. "Not dangerous," he smiled. "Those are my favorite kinds." She tilted her head, a gesture she had learned from him. "They wish you to assist in a diplomatic session." Elias' expression turned thoughtful. "I'm not a diplomat." "They know," Sally said. "That is why they asked." Later that cycle, Elias stood in a smaller chamber than before. This room felt more personal. The seats were arranged in a circle, not rows. There were no raised platforms. The representatives sat among each other, not above. Sally remained near the wall, observing, though Elias could feel her attention on him like a steady light. Talron spoke first. "Several cooperative agreements have stalled," they said. "Not due to conflict, due to misunderstanding." Elias nodded. "That happens a lot." "Our protocols emphasize clarity and distance," another representative said. "Yet distance has become a barrier." Elias took a slow breath. "Where I'm from," he said, "we mess up communication all the time. We talk too much or too little. But when that happens, we usually sit down and listen." There was a pause. "You are suggesting informality," Talron said. "I'm suggesting honesty," Elias replied. "No scripts, no perfect words, just say what you're worried about." The representatives exchanged looks. One finally spoke. "We fear loss of identity," they said. "Connection threatens tradition." Elias nodded slowly. "That fear makes sense, but connection doesn't erase who you are, it shows who you are to someone else." The room grew quiet again. Sally watched the data stream shift. Emotional tension lowered, attention sharpened. Another representative spoke. "Humans risk emotional harm often," they said. "Why?" Elias smiled sadly. "Because being alone hurts more." That answer stayed in the room like a gentle echo. The session ended without formal resolution, but something important had happened. The representatives did not leave immediately. Some stayed seated thinking. Others approached Elias not with questions but with quiet gratitude. As Elias and Sally walked back through the corridor, she spoke. "You altered the session structure." "I just talked," Elias said. "That is the alteration," she replied. News of the meeting spread quickly. Other stations requested guidance, not instructions, stories. Elias began spending time in shared spaces, not as an example, but as himself. He listened more than he spoke. He laughed easily. He admitted when he did not understand something. Aliens responded in kind. One researcher shared doubts about their work. Elias listened. Another spoke about loneliness during long rotations. Elias sat with them. He did not try to fix anything. That seemed to matter most. Sally noticed that she was no longer simply observing change. She was part of it. She found herself speaking more openly with colleagues. Sharing thoughts she once would have kept silent. She laughed once during a break and surprised herself. One evening, she and Elias stood in a quiet corridor between shifts. "You are teaching us without meaning to," she said. Elias shook his head. "I'm just being human." She looked at him carefully. "That may be the lesson." As his departure date grew closer, the station felt both lighter and heavier. Lighter because connection flowed easily now. Heavier because everyone knew he would leave. The council called one final gathering. Not to ask anything, to offer something, Talron addressed Elias. "Your presence has redefined our approach to cooperation," they said. "We wish to formalize this change." Elias frowned gently. "You don't need me for that." We know, Talrin said. But we wish to honor the beginning. They presented a symbol, not a medal or title, a shared emblem representing openness between species. Elias accepted it with quiet respect. Sally watched, feeling a strange tightening in her chest, pride, sadness. Something else she did not yet have a word for. Later, as they walked together one last time by the viewing window, Elias spoke quietly. I'm glad I was here, Sally nodded. So are we, he turned to her. Especially you, she hesitated, then spoke honestly. Your hand, she said. When you first held it, it changed me. Elias smiled softly. It changed me too. They stood together in silence, watching the stars. The station lights dimmed gently, not signaling night but rest. The final day arrived without ceremony. There were no alarms, no dramatic announcements. The station continued its steady rhythm, lights glowing softly, corridors filled with quiet movement, yet everyone felt it. Elias was leaving. He stood in his assigned quarters, looking at the few items he had gathered during his stay. A simple emblem from the council, a small data crystal filled with recorded messages from staff who had worked near him. He held them gently, as if they were fragile, though he knew they were not. There was a soft chime at the door. Come in, he said. Sally entered, her steps slower than usual. She wore her standard uniform, but something about her posture had changed over the past days. She stood straighter now, more certain, more herself. The transport is ready, she said. Elias nodded. I figured. They stood there for a moment, neither moving. You do not have to escort me, Elias said gently. I know this isn't part of your duties anymore. Sally met his eyes. It is, she said. I have chosen it. They walked together through the corridors one last time. Aliens paused as they passed. Some bowed their heads. Some raised a hand in farewell, copying a human gesture they had learned recently. Elias smiled at each of them. The hangar was wide and bright, open to the stars beyond a transparent barrier. His ship waited quietly, repaired and prepared. Earth symbols shone faintly along its side. A small group had gathered. Talrin stood at the front, along with representatives from several worlds. No guards, no formal lines. Talrin spoke first. Human Elias, your time here has concluded. Elias chuckled softly. Sounds official. It is, Talrin replied, but this is not a farewell of distance. It is one of continuation. They stepped forward and extended a small object. It was not metal or crystal, but something woven, flexible, warm to the touch. A link, Talrin said. Not symbolic, active. It will allow direct communication between our peoples. Elias accepted it with both hands. Thank you, he said. We'll use it. Talrin inclined their head. We know. One by one, others stepped forward. A caretaker who had learned to smile, a researcher who had learned to listen. A young alien who had once sat silently beside Elias and found peace there. None of them spoke long. They did not need to. Finally, it was just Elias and Sally. The noise of the hangar faded into the background. You are ready, Sally said. I am, Elias replied. Then he smiled gently. I just wish there was more time. Sally felt something tighten inside her chest again. She placed a hand over it, not hiding the feeling. You have already given more than time, she said. You gave permission. Elias tilted his head. Permission. To feel, she said, to connect without fear. He stepped closer. You didn't need me for that, she shook her head slowly. Sometimes a beginning needs a spark. They stood facing each other, closer than before. The station lights dimmed slightly, reacting to emotional patterns without being told to. Elias reached out. Sally did not hesitate. Their hands met, fingers fitting naturally together. There was no rush, no urgency, just warmth. When you first held my hand, Sally said quietly, I believed it was an error, a reflex. Elias smiled. Humans have a lot of those. She returned the smile fully this time. Now I know it was an invitation. Elias squeezed her hand gently. You accepted. Yes, she said. I did. The moment stretched, peaceful and complete. Then slowly Elias released her hand, not abruptly, not painfully, just enough. Sally felt the absence, but it did not feel empty. Goodbye, Sally, Elias said. She met his gaze, steady and calm. Not goodbye, she said. Only distance, he nodded. Fair enough. He turned and walked toward his ship. Halfway there, he paused and looked back. Sally was still standing where he left her. She raised her hand. He waved back. The ship doors closed quietly. The engines hummed to life. As the ship moved away from the station, Elias looked back through the viewport. He did not feel lost the way he expected. He felt something stronger. Hope. Behind him, the stars stretched open, waiting. Back on the station, Saley remained in the hangar long after the ship had gone. She felt different but not broken, changed but not uncertain. Talrin approached her. "You are altered," they said. Saley nodded. "Yes." "Do you regret it?" Talrin asked. She considered the question carefully. "No," she said. "I am more myself than I was before." Talrin studied her. "Then the human's influence endures." "Yes," Saley replied. "It does." In the days that followed, the station continued to evolve. Caretakers stayed longer with patients. Researchers asked personal questions, not for data, but for understanding. Shared spaces filled with quiet conversations and comfortable silence. The link Elias had taken to Earth activated regularly. Messages flowed both ways. Not demands or commands, stories. On Earth, Elias spoke to councils and students alike. He told them about Saley, about a station that learned to feel, about a galaxy that was not cold, just waiting. Humans listened. They reached out. Across the stars, responses came back. Saley stood at the viewing window weeks later, watching Earth's distant star burn softly. Her hand rested on the glass. She felt connection there, not through touch, but through memory and through choice. Humanity had not arrived with force or fear. They had arrived with an open hand.